Elena Hartman awoke to a throbbing pain in her head and an oppressive weight on her chest. Her vision was blurred, and she struggled to make sense of her surroundings. The beeping of medical equipment, the rustle of footsteps, and the muted murmur of voices filled the room. It took a moment for her to realize that she was in a hospital. The CCU room was stark and sterile, with white walls and a single large window letting in a sliver of sunlight. The pain in her head was relentless, and her memory felt foggy, as if she were wading through a dream. As Elena slowly became more aware, she realized that she was lying in a hospital bed, connected to various monitors and 4 drips. "Elena, can you hear me?" A voice interrupted her thoughts. She turned her head slightly to see a young resident doctor standing beside her bed. He was in his late 20s, with a compassionate expression that contrasted with the clinical environment. "Yes," Elena croaked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Dr. Ryan Collins. You're in the cardiac care unit. You had a complicated delivery, and there were some complications," Ryan said gently. "Do you remember what happened?" Elena tried to piece together her fragmented memories, but a haze clouded her recollections. The last thing she clearly remembered was being rushed into surgery, her mind overwhelmed by fear for her newborn twins. She couldn't recall much beyond that. Ryan's expression shifted to one of concern as he checked her vitals and adjusted the medical equipment. "You've been through a lot. You had a severe brain injury, which is why you're having trouble with your memory right now. It might take some time for things to come back clearly." As Ryan continued his examination, Elena heard another conversation from the hallway, filtered through the thin walls. The voices were muffled, but she could make out the tone. Angry, cold, and calculating. One of the voices was unmistakably Victor's. "We need to move quickly on this." Victor Hartman's voice was sharp and clear even through the wall. "She's too weak to fight us. Once the paperwork is filed, it'll be too late for her to do anything." Elena's heart raced. She knew Victor's voice well. Her husband of 8 years, a man whose charm had masked his true nature for far too long. Her mind, though still clouded, immediately registered alarm. "What are they talking about?" she wondered. The conversation continued, growing clearer. "We'll declare her mentally incompetent." Victor's voice was laced with malicious intent. "With her out of the way, I can forge her will and get control of the inheritance. The twins will go to foster care. They're a burden anyway." Elena's breath caught in her throat. Her husband's betrayal cut through her foggy mind with chilling clarity. Victor's plan was to seize her $150 million inheritance by having her declared incapacitated, and worse, he intended to abandon their twin babies. Anger surged through her, fueling a determination to fight back. She knew she had to act cautiously. Pretending to be unconscious seemed like her best option. If Victor believed she was unaware of his scheme, she could gather more evidence and counteract his plans. Summoning her strength, Elena closed her eyes and let her breathing slow, attempting to mimic the shallow breaths of someone in a deep sleep. The door to her room creaked open, and she heard the sound of footsteps entering the room. It was Megan, Victor's lover, carrying a folder. Elena could sense the tension in Megan's voice as she spoke. "Is everything set?" Megan asked, her tone nervous. "What if she wakes up and remembers something?" Victor's voice was reassuring but firm. "By the time she regains her senses, it will be too late. We have everything we need. Just make sure the papers are ready. This is our chance to get everything we've been waiting for." Megan nodded, and the two of them continued their conversation, discussing the details of the forged will and the plans to have Elena declared mentally incapacitated. Their words confirmed Elena's worst fears. Victor's betrayal was more than just a threat. It was a meticulously planned scheme to take everything from her. Elena's mind raced with strategies. She needed to expose Victor's treachery, but doing so would require careful planning. She had to find a way to document their conversations and gather evidence. The hidden camera in her CCU room could be her lifeline, providing proof of Victor's actions. Ryan Collins returned to check on Elena, his face showing a mixture of concern and curiosity. "How are you feeling? Any more memories coming back?" Elena took a deep breath, fighting to stay composed. "Not much. everything is still a blur. Ryan nodded sympathetically. That's understandable. Recovery can be slow. If you need anything or if you start to remember more, just let me know. As Ryan left the room, Elena's resolve hardened. She knew she had to act swiftly. The stakes were high, and she couldn't afford to let Victor's deceit go unchecked. Her focus was now clear. She had to gather the evidence she needed to protect her children, her inheritance, and her own future. The clock ticked on, and Elena remained in her bed, her mind working overtime as she prepared for the battle ahead. She knew that her strength, intelligence, and determination would be her greatest allies in the fight to reclaim her life and safeguard her family. Days passed slowly in the sterile confines of the cardiac care unit, and Elena Hartman's sense of urgency only grew with each passing hour. Her initial disorientation had gradually lessened, and she began to piece together the fragments of her memory. The threat posed by Victor and Megan became increasingly clear, and Elena knew she had to act quickly to counter their plans. The hospital was a maze of corridors and rooms, and Elena spent much of her time thinking about how to get the evidence she needed. Her hidden camera, installed by the hospital's security team, was crucial in capturing Victor and Megan's incriminating conversations. However, the camera's recordings would be of no use if she couldn't find a way to access them. Elena focused on Ryan Collins, the young resident doctor who had shown her kindness and seemed genuinely concerned for her well-being. She had noticed his curiosity and attentiveness, qualities that might make him a valuable ally. She decided to approach him discreetly. One afternoon, as Ryan checked her vitals, Elena seized the opportunity. "Dr. Collins," she said softly, her voice steady but laden with urgency. "I need your help." Ryan looked at her with concern. "What's wrong, Ms. Hartman?" Elena hesitated for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "I overheard something disturbing a few days ago. My husband and someone else were talking about taking control of my estate and abandoning my children. I need to gather evidence to stop them, but I don't know how to access the security footage from the camera in this room." Ryan's eyes widened in shock and sympathy. "I had no idea. I'll see what I can do, but you have to be careful. If Victor and Megan find out you're onto them, it could put you in even greater danger." Elena nodded gratefully. "Thank you. I'll do whatever it takes to protect my children and my assets." Ryan promised to investigate the situation and left the room with a determined look. Elena watched him go, hoping he would be able to access the crucial footage. Later that day, Elena saw Ryan again, this time with a serious expression. "I've spoken to Dr. Roberts, the head of the CCU. He's agreed to help us, but we need to be cautious. He has some issues with my adoptive father, so we have to be careful how we approach this." Elena's heart sank at the mention of potential complications. "How can we ensure the footage gets to where it needs to be?" Ryan's expression softened. "I've contacted your notary. If we can get the footage to him, he can take it from there. But we need to be swift. Victor's plans could be moving faster than we think." With Ryan's help, Elena arranged for the hidden camera's footage to be transferred to her notary. The process was delicate, involving several layers of secrecy and coordination to avoid drawing suspicion. Ryan's support was invaluable, and Elena felt a renewed sense of hope. As the days went by, Elena's strength gradually improved, and she began to regain more clarity in her thoughts. Her interactions with Ryan became more frequent, and their conversations deepened. Elena learned about Ryan's background, how he had pursued a career in medicine to make a difference, a goal he took very seriously. She found solace in his presence, and a bond of mutual respect and trust began to form between them. One evening, while the hospital was quiet, Elena overheard another conversation from the hallway. It was Victor speaking urgently to Megan. "I don't want to wait any longer." Victor's voice was tense. "We need to move forward with the plan. Elena's starting to remember things, and we can't afford any more delays. I need that inheritance for myself, and the twins need to be out of the picture." Megan's voice trembled slightly. "What if she fights back? What if someone finds out?" Victor's response was cold and resolute. "We'll deal with any obstacles as they come. But for now, make sure the paperwork is ready and everything is in place." I want this settled before she can interfere. Elena's heart raced as she listened to Victor's words. His desperation and ruthlessness were evident, and she knew that time was running out. Her plan to expose him was set in motion, and the stakes had never been higher. That night, Elena felt a mix of fear and determination. Her recovery was a race against time, and every moment was critical. She had to rely on the evidence Ryan was helping her gather and her own resilience to protect her family. The final confrontation was approaching, and Elena was prepared to fight with everything she had to reclaim her life and secure a future for her children. As she lay in her hospital bed, Elena's resolve was unwavering. She knew that the upcoming days would be crucial in her battle against Victor's deceit. With Ryan's help, she was confident that justice would prevail, and the shadows of betrayal would be cast aside. The days leading up to the climax of Elena Hartman's struggle were fraught with tension. Her recovery continued, and the days in the cardiac care unit seemed both endless and filled with urgency. With Ryan Collins's help, Elena was prepared to confront Victor's scheme and secure her future. One crisp morning, Ryan approached Elena with a serious look on his face. "Ms. Hartman, I have some updates for you," he said quietly, ensuring no one else could overhear. "I managed to get the footage from the hidden camera. Your notary is ready to take action, but we need to be very careful about our next steps." Elena's eyes brightened with hope. "Thank you, Ryan. What do we do next?" Ryan glanced around to make sure no one was listening. "The footage clearly shows Victor and Megan discussing their plan to have you declared mentally incapacitated and to secure control of your inheritance. We need to ensure that this evidence reaches the authorities and that it's used to prevent their plot from succeeding." Elena nodded, her heart pounding. "How do we get it to the authorities without alerting Victor?" Ryan looked thoughtful. "I'll arrange a meeting with your notary and ensure that everything is in place. We'll need to act quickly and discreetly. I've also spoken to Dr. Roberts, and he's agreed to provide his support. We just need to make sure that nothing goes wrong." As Ryan left to coordinate with the notary and Dr. Roberts, Elena's mind raced with thoughts of her children and her business. She knew that every decision she made now would determine her family's future. That afternoon, Elena overheard a conversation between Dr. Roberts and Ryan in the hallway. "We have to be careful," Dr. Roberts was saying. "Victor is ruthless, and we need to make sure he doesn't suspect anything. If he finds out we're onto him, he might take drastic measures." Ryan's response was firm. "We're handling it. Elena's safety and the integrity of her assets are our top priorities. We'll make sure everything goes according to plan." Elena's heart sank at the mention of Victor's potential reactions. She knew that the stakes were high and that their plan had to be executed flawlessly. Later that evening, Elena received a visit from her notary, who came bearing crucial news. "Elena," he said quietly, "we have everything we need. The footage has been reviewed, and we've prepared the necessary legal documents to expose Victor's plot. We're ready to take action, but we need your final confirmation." Elena took a deep breath, her mind flashing with the images of her children and her life's work. "Do it. Expose Victor. I can't let him destroy everything I've worked for or harm my children." With Elena's confirmation, the notary, Ryan, and Dr. Roberts worked swiftly to put their plan into action. The police were notified, and preparations were made to raid Victor and Megan's residence. Elena's determination was palpable, and her resolve to see justice served was unwavering. The following morning, the operation was set in motion. Elena waited anxiously in her hospital room, her emotions a mix of fear and hope. She knew that the outcome of the raid would determine her family's future. As the day unfolded, Elena received word from Ryan that the police had successfully raided Victor and Megan's residence. "We have them," Ryan said over the phone. "Victor and Megan are in custody. The evidence we provided was conclusive, and their plans have been exposed." Elena felt a surge of relief and satisfaction. The immediate threat to her family was over, but she knew that there was still work to be done. Her focus shifted to ensuring her children's future and reclaiming control of her business. In the aftermath of the raid, Elena began to piece her life back together. With Victor and Megan out of the picture, she could finally focus on her recovery and on ensuring that her children would be safe and secure. Ryan's support remained invaluable throughout the process. His dedication and kindness had been a source of strength for Elena during the most challenging moments of her life. Their bond grew stronger, and Elena found herself increasingly grateful for his presence. As Elena looked forward to the future, she knew that the road ahead would be filled with both challenges and opportunities. Her journey had been marked by betrayal and deceit, but she had emerged victorious, determined to build a new chapter for herself and her children. With the legal issues resolved and Victor's schemes thwarted, Elena felt a renewed sense of hope and purpose. The battle had been difficult, but she had triumphed, and her family's future was now secure. As she prepared to leave the hospital and return to her life, Elena was ready to embrace the new beginnings that lay ahead. Elena Hartman stood by the window of her hospital room, the morning sun casting a warm glow over the Dallas skyline. The raid on Victor and Megan's residence had been successful, and the evidence against them had led to their arrests. With Victor's treachery exposed and his plans thwarted, Elena felt a profound sense of relief. Yet, she knew that her journey was far from over. Her immediate priority was to ensure her children's well-being and regain control of her business. As she prepared to leave the hospital, Elena reflected on the past few tumultuous weeks. The betrayal she had faced had been deeply painful, but it had also revealed the strength and resilience within her. She was ready to rebuild her life and secure a future for her twin babies. Ryan Collins, who had been a steadfast ally throughout the ordeal, was waiting for her in the hospital lobby. His presence was a comforting constant in the midst of chaos. "How are you feeling today, Ms. Hartman?" he asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. Elena smiled, feeling a mix of gratitude and exhaustion. "Better, thanks to you. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done." Ryan's face softened. "You don't need to thank me. I'm just glad we could help. Your strength and determination were the real driving force behind this." As they walked out of the hospital together, Elena's thoughts turned to her business. She had already begun working with her notary to secure her assets and ensure that her company was in order. The $150 million inheritance, which had been the focal point of Victor's greed, was now protected. Elena was determined to reassert control over her car manufacturing company and rebuild her life on solid ground. The following week was a whirlwind of activity. Elena met with her legal team to finalize the necessary paperwork and make arrangements for the smooth transition of her business back into her hands. Her staff welcomed her return with open arms, and she quickly re-established her position as the leader of her company. The knowledge that her children were safe and her financial affairs were in order allowed Elena to focus on her professional responsibilities with renewed vigor. During this period, Elena and Ryan's relationship continued to grow. Their shared experiences had forged a deep bond between them, and they found solace and support in each other. Ryan's unwavering support had been crucial in navigating the challenges she faced, and Elena found herself drawn to him in a way she hadn't anticipated. One evening, as they sat together in Elena's living room, Ryan took her hand gently. "Elena, I've been thinking. We've both been through a lot, but I believe we've come out stronger on the other side. I care about you deeply, and I want to be there for you and your children, not just as a friend but as something more." Elena looked into Ryan's eyes, her heart swelling with emotion. "I feel the same way, Ryan. Your support has meant more to me than I can express. I'm ready to start a new chapter in my life, and I'd like for you to be a part of it." Their conversation marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. As Elena and Ryan's relationship deepened, they began to plan a future together. Their bond was built on trust, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to overcoming adversity. Elena's children, now secure and happy, were a central part of this new chapter, and Ryan embraced his role in their lives with genuine affection. In the months that followed, Elena's life took on a renewed sense of purpose. She continued to lead her company with confidence and passion, her focus now on innovative projects and expanding her business. The shadow of Victor's betrayal had been replaced by a bright horizon of possibilities. The story of Elena Hartman's journey from betrayal to triumph served as a testament to the power of resilience and the importance of standing up for what is right. Her victory over Victor's schemes, her recovery from adversity, and her new beginning with Ryan and her children all highlighted the strength of a mother's love and the triumph of integrity over deceit. As Elena looked to the future, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment and hope. The challenges she had faced had only strengthened her resolve, and she was ready to embrace the opportunities ahead with a heart full of optimism and a spirit undeterred by past hardships. With Ryan by her side and her family secure, Elena was prepared to build a future marked by love, success, and a renewed sense of purpose.